deep dive interviews with music gear inventors, builders, creators, and tone chasers. The Gear Gab Podcast with Eric Dahl uncovers the behind-the-scenes stories of the music gear that inspires us. And now, here's your host, Eric Dahl.
Welcome to the Gear Gab Podcast. And speaking of tone chasers, I have the Grammy Award-winning singer-songwriter and incredible guitarist, Trey Hensley, on the show. Trey, thanks for coming on.
Hey, thank you, Eric. Glad to be here.
You know, we were talking before we started doing the interview. This is kind of like when we did the magazine interviews or when we did the TV show, The Rock and Review, to where it's like you and I would go down a rabbit hole and it's like, oh yeah, we have to talk about the album now.
Yeah, this is dangerous.
It really is, because, you know, so much about all of your different guitars over the years. And so, you know, and there's such an amazing history. And I was telling you before we started the interview, Trey, to where I always learn something else about your career and how everything transpired for you, you know, as a youth, and then how incredible your career in music is going now. But, you know, we got to start this thing up. I mean, you know, playing as a kid, you know, and I know you shared the story before, but you got to tell this again, because it just makes me smile. Just thinking about, you know, a young Trey Hensley, you know, and your dad taking you to see Marty Stuart, and, you know, 3 songs.
Yeah.
3 songs, but they were the right 3 songs, Trey.
The right 3 songs. Somehow that there was something in the ether that.
Well,
I kind of.
The rest of it, you got to tell a story. Come on.
I do know, you know, in hindsight, it makes sense because the 3 songs I knew were Carter family tunes that I had learned from Flat and Scruggs records.
Well,
and after found out, you know, Marty Stuart, his first album that he ever owned was a Flat and Scruggs greatest hits album that at least 2 of those songs were on. But yeah, I was always a big Marty Stuart fan growing up. You know, I grew up in the 90s watching CMT, and I just like, I don't know, I liked the music, okay, but there's something about Marty, you know, it's like, I just remember he was one of those guys you'd see him play and you just knew, you know, it's like him and Steve Wariner. There was a handful of always the guitar players, like the people the artists that knew how to play were the ones that inspired me even before I started playing. And yeah, Marty was coming to the fair, Appalachian Fair out in East Tennessee. And I just bought this big felt guitar case, you know, and I had an old gifted Yamaha FG 180, you know, and my dad, he snuck us in backstage for one.
But I mean, and I was thinking about that. What a cool dad to do that.
Yeah, my dad's great. He is not one that's ever met a stranger, you know, and just, you know, buddied up to the backstage security guard and got us in, you know, whereas I, on the other hand, they would immediately call my bluff instantly, you know, but yeah, my dad is, you know, could just, you know, smooth talk his way in there. But, you know, Marty was very gracious, and he signed my guitar case. And then my dad just kind of said, "Hey, my son would love to play you a song." So, you know, of course, Marty has probably 20 more people in line for autographs, because I'm officially in like the Marty party, you know, the fan club line.
You're like the meet and greet.
Yeah, I'm not a member of the meet and greet, but here I am, you know, meeting and greeting. And so he, yeah, sure, you know, pulls me up a chair. And like the moment I started playing, because I played Junior Around the Newsboy, and if you know the song, you know the Flat and Scruggs version, the guitar part is very signature to that song.
Oh yeah.
And I did know it. Like, my guitar teacher was a great instructor, and he was like well versed in that style, and I had worked hard on those songs, and Marty stopped what he was doing. He didn't sign any more autographs, and he watched me play. And after I'd finished that, you know, everybody clapped, and you know anything else? And I played, you know, Wildwood Flower or something. And then, you know anything else? And I played. It was just so happened that he asked for 3 songs. Because after that, I was like, nope, you know.
Meant to be.
It was meant to be. And he got me up on stage that night. And like one of the first times I'd ever been on stage, you know, in front of, you know, tens of thousands of people in East Tennessee. And then when he got done, you know, with the show, he came back and said, "I've got to get you on the Opry. You know, I want to have you out there." And then, you know, fast forward, 6 months, and he had me on there with Earl Scruggs as a special guest. I didn't know Earl was going to be there, and Earl was my, he was my kind of ultimate guitar hero. Everybody thinks of Earl as the banjo guy, and he was, but a fantastic guitar player, and
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
and everything that has been, since then, like all these people I think of, like people played on my last album, Stuart Duncan, and like Gary Douglas, Rob Ikes, all these people that I met through Earl when I was 11 years old, and so it's been this great, just incredible thing that happened when I was a kid that still impacts me, 20 some odd years later.
But it's just, to me, it is just like how the whole thing transpired, with your dad and with you practicing so hard and becoming so proficient. But then, like, once again, how this led to you meeting Johnny Cash
Yeah.
and playing June Carter Cash's birthday party. I mean, it's some of this stuff, man. It feels a little Forrest Gumpish. I don't know.
It does, yeah. It's. I was just thinking, it's like it's the Forrest Gump effect.
Yeah, so we're looking at a picture of like Johnny Cash and June. It's like going, is that Trey? Yeah, it looks like Trey Hensley in there.
Free AI.
I made it. I mean, but didn't some of these things though, and you're going, how did I get here? I mean, it's like,
Yeah. Everything. Well, it's like I met Tom T. Hall, who produced my first album through Tom.
I was going to bring that up
Johnny
next.
Cash.
I'm such a huge fan of Tom T. Hall.
Yeah, me too.
And that he produced your first album.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, and to Tom's credit, they owned a house. Him and Miss Dixie, his wife, owned a house out in Franklin that had this, great studio in the basement, and they had a separate house on the property. And so many people don't know about it that are fans of Tom's, but man, they were doing albums in there almost daily of just bluegrass musicians that, like me, didn't. I was a kid. I didn't know to go to a studio, and my first project is at Tom T. Hall's house, and there were so many people that, like may not have had either the means or the opportunity to work in a studio and they never charged anything, that you ate meals for free
and
stayed there for free.
Yeah, right.
When I did that album, I had just turned 12.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I mean, it was right after the Johnny Cash stuff, it was right after the Opry. And cause I met Tom at June's birthday party. He was there.
It's like everybody you met.
Yeah. I mean, it was right around that time, and, and it was, Johnny, of course, played some songs. I played a few songs. Tom played a few songs. Dale Jett, a lot of the people that were at the Carter Fold, around that time were there and playing songs, and, just a beautiful kind of family party, and, at Mother Maybell's house. Also, there's all this just heavy history, that's happening.
You have such a lineage. I mean, it's really, it's like they were kind of bringing you in, Trey, as part of the family.
I felt very, in hindsight, like I was very nervous to be there. And it's funny because my parents, I'm sure it's on DVD now, but, they recorded my songs there that day, and Johnny and June are both sitting right behind me, and,
that was not AI. That was that.
It was, yeah. Yeah, my mom had this big video camera, she brought to it, and had to ask, "Oh, can I film my son playing these songs?" And it was they were so nice and so gracious, and I got to go to their house quite a bit that summer, and because I was practicing, they were working on another project that never happened, of them. It was going to be like more of a duet thing, and I know, just thinking back on it, like they had mentioned having, Norman Blake on it and all these people that I'd, it's like to be 12 and be mentioned with those people is like just insane.
Well, and I obviously got to ask you, going to Tom T. Hall's studio and everything there on the property, did you take the Yamaha? I mean, what was the guitar of choice?
Well, so at the time it was kind of happened quick.
And it's okay. I'm not knocking the Yamaha.
Oh yeah. Yamaha it was a great, it's still in my parents' living room, and that guitar is great. I just played it a few months ago, and it's like, man, this thing, it's a great guitar. But before I played the Opry, like the entirety of my family, aunts, uncles, cousins, distant cousins, pitched in, and we went to Ciderville Music in Knoxville, right outside of Knoxville, and bought a Martin HD28V, which of course I've still got that one too.
Of course.
And yeah, it was, that's the guitar I played on the Opry. And then not long after that, a friend of mine was selling a 66 D35. And of course now they're more sought after,
Right.
but this was 2001 or 2. And they were, like 60s Martins were, for the most part, people kind of downed them, and they're great guitars. That D35 was a monster. And so I used it and that HD28V on that Tonti Hall. I didn't bring the Yamaha.
Yeah, I didn't bring the Yamaha. That stayed at home. But I mean, you packing 2 great guitarists with you in studio.
Yeah, I mean, it felt, and at that point, it's like I'm playing professionally. I'm booking gigs, and for all intents and purposes, and so it and I'm sure with my parents, because my dad, he just retired a few years ago as a car mechanic, worked for the highway department in East Tennessee, and I'm sure they were not planning on it going from a gifted Yamaha to oh well, here's a Martin, and here another Martin.
Yeah, and as we both know, not exactly cheap instruments.
No, they're not. I mean,
they're new or
for a reason, and so yeah, that was I'm sure that was, but I think they knew instantly, because my dad, I think he told me when I was starting out, probably not thinking I was going to stick with it, but play this Yamaha, and if we see that you're getting better and you like it and you want to stick with it, maybe in a couple of years we'll buy you a Martin. And so I made it 6 months.
6 months. 6 months.
I think after the Opry, it's like, he's probably going to stick with it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when you think about it too, it's like I was telling somebody the other day, it's like my first acoustic guitar, that I got was like one of those J.C. Penney.
Oh yeah,
which a Yamaha would have been so much better. Because the springs were so high off the neck. It's like there's no way. I was so thankful. I went to a buddy's birthday party, Trey, and one of my friends fell on it and cracked the top, and I'm like, oh, goodness.
And that guy 5.
So here, just pull on the guitar.
Well, there's a picture of me when I was 9, because I know I got a guitar when I was 9. I don't remember it at all, but it was I think it was that situation where it was like my parents went to music store and just bought something and didn't really know what it was, and it was awful, and I didn't play it, and then this Yamaha, it was old, but it had been taken care of, and it was a world of difference between that and that, whatever that was.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it makes such a difference, I think, for any, kids, when we're starting out playing, if it's a decent instrument, that at least you can press down the strings. And the Yamahas, that's why everybody still talks about them and still owns them, those ones we learned on, because they were playable and they still sounded great.
Yeah, they're great guitars. I mean, they're when anybody asks about, what should I buy my kid to start off on, I'll, shout Yamaha from the rooftops, because they're great. They're great.
Yeah.
And my daughter's got a little Yamaha. Actually, my dad found it in a garbage can. And it was a Yamaha, Yamaha, one of those little tiny, whatever I don't know what they're called, but they're, it's like little bitty guitars. And I play it, if it's laying around the house, I'll play around it. I'd fixed it up a little bit and put some decent strings on it and cleaned it up, and it's fine, but probably a less than $100 guitar,
Right. And still very playable.
Yeah, still sounds
especially
great.
for chipper
Sounds like
hands, smaller hands.
Exactly, yeah.
So then, at what age then did you end up making the leap to move to Nashville?
It was a while. I mean, I was married, and me and my wife, we got married young, but it was 2013-ish.
Okay.
So I was 22, and yeah, we moved.
And so you'd already been playing all over the place.
Yeah, a long time. And I mean, I'm from East Tennessee, So I'm 3.5, 4 hours from Nashville, and I made that trip a lot. Probably wore multiple of my parents' cars out.
Up and down I-40.
Yeah, yeah. But my dad used to joke, if we take out of the driveway, the car could drive itself, point itself west.
Yeah, if that drive, it's like go down the mountain, go up the mountain.
There was a lot of time. I remember very well, getting in at 2 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, and then going to school in a few hours. It's
Right.
That happened a lot, and missed some school, but it was, ever since that first, time playing the Opry, it just kind of, I've been playing. Yeah, it's like I was bit before then, but if there was an extra bit, that's after that.
Well, and once again, you and I were talking too. You're so well known in the bluegrass world, Trey, and certainly from all the awards and everything you've won with that. But also, what I appreciate about you, kind of like Tommy Emmanuel, to where you can kick out like any style of music, and and also leaning. Marty Stuart to me always seemed like back in the day, Trey, that he was like on the edge of rock. It was like country rock.
Yeah.
And it seems like when you're left to your own devices, sometimes you can definitely lean into some rock guitar, Trey.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy that stuff, and I always think of when I first met Marty, it was Marty Stuart and the Rock and Roll Cowboys. That was the band, and I had Brad Davis on guitar, and then it slowly morphed into the Fabulous Superlatives, which is for my money the best band in country music. But I do love that, and I remember the first time I was around Marty, now that I'm a gearhead, and I remember playing electric guitar with him one time, and it was two Fender Twins stacked on top of one another, loud, just loud. And yeah, as a mostly acoustic guitar player, yeah, I enjoy actually being able to hear myself every now and then.
Exactly. Well, and also, and the deal with so many of the bluegrass outings, and there's so many videos and everything with you performing over the years, but a lot of times you're working around one microphone.
Yeah, and it's tough, man.
That well amplified, and you're playing again a mandolin, a banjo, a fiddle, and vocalist, and and if you're singing, it's got to be hard to hear yourself sometimes.
It is, and I think, I mean, now it's gotten much better. It's like all of my guitars have pickups, and I always think of, everybody in bluegrass. There's the whole camp of purists and traditionalists, and as much as I love, like Tony Rice or those, when I saw Tony probably 10 times, was very lucky to get to see him. He's always my favorite. One of the times I saw him was in a controlled inside environment, and you hear his guitar perfectly. And then I saw him twice in outdoor venues,
Yeah.
and it was just, every time he would step up to the mic, it was just feedback, and then on the other hand, you had Doc Watson, who kind of embraced the early pickups, and although the tone was not, like, you kind of always gave something.
Right.
You could always hear Doc. Like he would step up to take a break. It was always there. And now I think the pickups have gotten to the point where, internal microphones, and it's so much better and so much easier that we kind of have it made.
We really,
Yeah,
that's such a good point, because it's like, you think about those early pickups, even in our acoustics, it's like, and I remember I had, once again, you can't make this up. I had a Takamine Flying V acoustic.
Oh,
I went.
I was starting to say, if he still has that thing,
I traded it, but it was one of the early pickups, though. That had the sliders, the slider EQ on the side, and I'm telling you what, I would think, I can take this to a blues gig. That thing would howl and feedback so bad.
Yeah,
it was just painful, Trey. But it's like, but the new pickup systems, that have come out now, like with LR Bags, with Fishman. And I'm using K&K sometimes too, and I'm sure you're using a variety, but they're so much better.
They are. I mean, even at the worst, I think it's better than anything that's, and I really like, most of the time I use bag stuff, and almost everything I use has a microphone and something else, whether it
But
be,
you can mix them.
yeah, it's nice to have, because sometimes the internal mic, I could get off on a tangent on that, how it, doesn't always work. But there's some magic about it. And the other thing that, I mean, it's just like, I just played in Italy, and I wasn't able to bring my pedal board, which, I don't really have any secret on there. I just packed a Baggs Venue DI because it had a tuner on it, and it was perfect. I like maybe notched some high, but it was even that was just the slightest little bit. And it's the guy I remember the guy at the sound booth came down and in very broken English wanted to know what my pickup was, because he's like, that sounds great,
Yeah, and all you did was notch that in a little bit.
Yeah, everything else will dog. The volume's up. That's it,
But I mean,
it's great.
it's so much better now than, it seemed like, back in the early days. And I mean, certainly learning curve and all that stuff, but it's like that, those early acoustic pickups, a lot of times they were brittle. They were almost like quacky.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The old piezo quack. It's and it's funny because you'll hear a lot of, like, especially in rock or whatever, where it's like they just did that and they embraced it and they still embrace it. It's come on, guys, there's so much better out there.
There really is the evolution of the pickups now. And like I said, to where you can dial it in and really have pretty close representation of an acoustic sound.
Yeah. It's nice. I mean, it's and like, I use an Anthem SL, and for the most part, it sounds like my guitar whenever I put it in, And I know, like, K&Ks are like that. It's like I said, it's just, you can go off and say just about, to overgeneralize. It's like, I'd say just about everything is better than it once was.
Totally. Well, then obviously, in those years before you came to Nashville, and then, when did you end up, getting together with Rob Eikston and kind of putting the duo together?
So that was part of the reason I moved to Nashville, because I met Rob through Earl Scruggs when I was 12 or 13. Rob was a part of the band, and I was sitting in with the band, and then I would cross paths with him because he was in this great bluegrass band, Blue Highway. I'd open some shows for them or whatever, and but it wasn't until 2012 they were working on an album, and it's kind of a long story that I'll summarize, in that they needed somebody to sing a scratch vocal on their album. The album was called The Game, and what they were going to do is they wanted me to sing to eventually erase it, so that they were going to have another guest artist come in and sing on it. And they ended up leaving my vocal on there. They liked it and they left it on there, which is great, and like 2 days after I recorded that, Rob called me to tell me that, and which was way cool. And we had just this nice, like, hour-long talk. And I remember I was working at a root canal needle factory.
I think we've all had some jobs like that.
I was hanging out, outside of that, getting ready to dread going back in, and
much like a root canal.
Yeah, much like working there was much like having a root canal, and it's very fitting. But Rob was very positive, and he said, and I said, well, we have been thinking about moving to Nashville, and I'd had all this stuff when I was a kid, and I played all these gigs, but now it's maybe in a little bit of a lull. And he said, oh, I think you should definitely come to Nashville, and it's it's a great place to be. And when you get here, give me a call and we'll get together and pick. And so my wife, like, I told her that day, and she started applying for jobs and immediately got one. Like,
oh my gosh,
instantly. And so, like, 2 weeks later, we were in Nashville, and me and Rob rehearsed like every day. And honestly, it wasn't rehearsal; it was just picking. I would just go to his house and we'd pick, and like the whole duo thing was so organic, because he said, oh, this fall I'm going to work on. I usually do a solo album, once every couple of years. And he said, would you want to play guitar and sing on it? And maybe we'll just make it a duo album. And, oh, yeah, that'd be great. And we had like 2 or 3 songs picked out, and everything else was totally live. And that was the Before the Sun Goes Down album.
Oh,
and just us sitting around picking, and it got nominated for a Grammy. And so we both were kind of like, and Rob was still in Blue Highway, and he had, was thinking about making a move, and he's like, man, if you want to kind of do this duo, that would be, I would like to do it. And I was like, yeah, let's do that. And man, it's, it ran for 10 years, and we're doing, actually, doing a couple shows this summer, and then later on in the fall in Canada. We're still close friends, obviously. And it's been, that was so great, just that.
Yeah, but you got to look at that too. I mean, from a phone call to a 10-year run.
Yeah, I mean, it was nuts that kind of, and everything just snowballed. And that was the way, it's like everything with the duo. I don't think anything was ever forced to where it was like,
Yeah, you guys always seem so good together. Just, it seemed like friends.
Well, that was the thing.
And let each other shine,
Yeah, honestly, like out of 10 years, and I don't think, I don't know of any real people that can say this even out of 10-year friendship, that I don't think we ever had like a crossword about anything. It's like we might have had one or two things where it's like, well, I think this and I think this, but it was never, that was totally, even that, if it was all maybe musical things that resolved easily. And
you guys complimented each other. I think that's what worked, musically and also as friends. You guys just complimented each other.
Yeah, I think it was
the way you approach things.
Yeah, and I learned, when we started that duo, I was, like I said, 22 or 3, and, it was still kind of formative, it's like as far as learning the music industry and trying to get around it. And then Rob, obviously he had been in Blue Highway at that point for 20 years, and, it had all this kind of session musician stuff under his belt, and, had already worked with all these great, Dolly Parton and David Lee Roth, but all these people that, like he had this history, under his belt that he was obviously very willing to share. And yeah, that was a very great run,
Yeah. Well, and obviously the next question then, what were your main guitars that you were using out on the road when you and Rob were playing Van Helsing Boulevard?
That was that is an ever-ending answer to that one, because if you would ask Rob, I brought a different one out every week, which is not necessarily.
And the thing is, I see nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I mean, that was not necessarily the truth, but it
might have been every other week.
To it, like when we first started the duo, I was mainly playing a 0028 Eric Clapton, like a newer one. Wow. And I love that. I still got that guitar and love it, but I use that on all of Before the Sun Goes Down, except for Pride and Joy, which I just gotten a Wayne Henderson 18 style guitar. And
I got that in my notes. Yep.
Oh yeah. Wayne's of course, if boutique guitar builders, Wayne is one of the top names that come up, and a great book called Clapton's Guitar that was written all about.
I've got the book.
It's a great book, and it's a great story. And
fly my nerd flag with you right now, Phil.
Oh yeah, we can get there. But around that time I met some of the folks from Taylor, because I just started plugging in, and I knew absolutely nothing about plugging in. Speaking of like quacky piezo tone, I remember I took that Clapton that had whatever was in it, like a some under saddle thing, and it sounded terrible. And I remember somebody had a Taylor with the ES2, and it's like, man, that sounds good. And so I got one of their 510s, and played it off and on. And then I met the folks at Bags, and I just started putting those. At the time, it was just a lyric, so it was just the under saddle. I put those and everything. So I used that Henderson quite a bit. In the meantime, I got the pre-war company out of North Carolina, some of their guitars, and used those quite a bit. Oh, those are like top of the heap of like old Martin copies, or old Gibson, that's their.
They smell really good too.
They do, yeah. There's something about they've somehow inserted the old guitar smell.
It's like one of those you pulled out from underneath the bed. It's like, well, this was great grandpa's, and it's like, oh my gosh, it smells.
Yeah, it is weird, man. It's like they're new, but they're not.
I know. I don't know what kind of magic they're doing.
It's voodoo or something on them.
But I love the guitars.
They are great, and so I've got like an 18 style and a slope shoulder like Norman Blake 28, But really, man, I have every guitar that I own now outside of like the gold labels that are new.
They have your name on them.
Yeah, all of those are obviously I didn't use in the duo, but like if I kind of categorize it by records because first record was the Clapton, second record was my 510. The country blues was all 510. The blues record, the Born with the Blues, World Full of Blues was the pre-war D18, and then oh man, and then actually the limited song on our last album, I used Brent Mayer's J200 on a lot of that because it was kind of a country record, and I didn't play like 2 guitar solos on that record, and the rest of it was just kind of strumming, which that J200 was, fit for the bill on that.
That's a nice 200 too.
Oh yeah, and then on those I do have like some electric guitar parts on all of them, and I think every one of those records I played the same electric guitar. I played there's a guy in East Tennessee that made nice T-style guitars, and it's basically 52 Telly, and it's a monster guitar, and that's what I played on everything,
Yeah, that's incredible. Well, I was going to bring up too to where it's like, with going through the different guitars, how did, and you got to tell me, you never told me this one. How did you end up working with Taj Mahal?
World Full of Blues, that album.
Really?
So it was nuts because we basically had the album done, and we had that title track that me and Rob got together. That part of it's a long story, but we got together and like Rob's buddy has this cabin out in the middle of nowhere, and we were like trying to write more, and we were like, let's just go out there and like write this record. And we didn't have as much, like, but we wrote like 3 songs, and this World Full of Blues song that was the title track, a friend of Rob's had like wrote parts of this song 30 or 40 years ago. Like it was this song that Rob had remembered from his high school days or something, and crazy like that. And we kind of wanted to modernize it and take it in a different direction. And the whole time, like we had this third verse that did not feel like it was my verse. Like I wrote it, but it felt like it belonged to somebody else. And it's like, we should have a special guest on that. And as a joke at that cabin, we were like, let's just write down, top 10, like craziest from Stevie Wonder, it's like, doesn't matter. Let's just write them down and we'll compare notes and aim high, and Taj was on both of our lists. And so we're like, you know what, let's see if we can get a hold of him and ask him. And so Rob somehow, he knew Taj's drummer at the time, Smitty, Kester Smith.
Yeah.
And which had been Taj's drummer. Sadly passed away last year, but he had been Taj's drummer in 1971. And those guys were brothers, and Rob sent Smitty this song, and he's like, hey man, if you don't mind playing it for Taj and just getting his opinion of it, if he'd want to do the third verse. And almost instantly Taj was in. And
it sounds like almost like a Wayne's World thing. Like going, it's like, oh yeah, just play this for Taj.
Yeah, like this whole fan, and he loved it, and he came to Nashville and he sang on it. And then we kind of became fast friends. We spent a couple days with him, and we opened some shows for him that year. And then fast forward to February of 2020, we started working with Taj in the studio on a studio album. He came to Nashville, and we have half of a studio album done that we never got to finish because the second day in the studio was March 17th of 2020. And obviously something happened before that could happen. And, and so we, all the flights got canceled, and we were just like, well, we'll do it this summer. Anyway, we ended up doing an album with Taj, the live record, but that's another thing. It's like, it was just totally organic. And hey, if you like this song, would you mind coming and singing on it? And I'll be danged if he didn't, and it's funny because
That is incredible.
Taj is he's one of those guys, I remember that Giant Steps record is just huge. And I probably wore out, that this one had the record has Statesboro and
Right.
all that stuff on it. Jesse Ed Davis, all that those guitar parts. I wore those records
Just
out.
amazing.
Yeah.
But also that all that came together. I got to ask you the next thing then. How did you end up becoming friends with Richie Blackmore? Because like Richie Blackmore now states that Trey Hensley is his favorite guitarist.
That was insane because, I mean, obviously, as a guitar player, you can't not just love Richie Blackmore. I mean, it's like I'll never forget hearing Highway Star, any of those Deep Purple tracks, and just he was the guy. I mean, it's and I was on the road with Tommy, and I was
Tommy Emmanuel.
Yeah, Tommy Emmanuel, and this was a year or two ago. And literally, we just got to the hotel, and I was sitting in my room scrolling. It's like, oh, hey, Richie Blackmore is live on Instagram or Facebook one. I can't remember which one he was live on. And I was just watching, and his wife asked him, who's your favorite guitar player? And he named me and Tommy and Buddy Holly and Dwayne Eddy.
That's good company.
And it was probably 1:30 in the morning. And I called Tommy. I went off live, and I called Tommy, and he didn't answer, And so the next day, first thing in the morning, as soon as we got on the bus, dude, Richie Blackmore was talking about us last night on live, and I don't really think he believed me until, of course, after it goes live,
right,
the video's still available, and so I screen recorded it. I was like, here, he mentioned us, and then, so I just sent him a message, and I was like, hey, Richie, you mentioned me on the live thing last night, and I just want to tell you, I will, geek out because I'm just a massive fan, and, you're on my Mount Rushmore of electric guitar players, and, just thank you so much. And he was super nice, and we've kept, in correspondence.
And you guys are like friends now.
It's insane, man. I've never formally met him in person, but if you would have told me as a teenager that was driving around listening to Deep Purple,
right,
that I would ever he would ever know my name, I would have said you were crazy. And it's still like it. I don't think it's real, but it evidently is.
It's in video. It's been written out, and I mean, Richie still
and he was just on Sirius XM on Ozzy's Boneyard, I think last month, and his wife emailed me and said, hey, you might want to tune in. Richie talked about you on the interview, and just blows me away every time, because
oh my God,
I struggle a lot with when I hear myself play. It's like I don't like it, and so I'm like, well, nobody else does either,
Oh my gosh. That's my favorite things. And I've seen you on the Opry multiple times. I've seen you in different venues and everything. But I just love it when you do the little videos just sitting out back at the house. And we're just like playing around, having fun, and it just feels like a hang, Trey.
Yeah, I mean, I've never wanted anything that I do to feel manufactured or forced or anything else. And it's whenever I was, I think we were talking about doing, social media stuff maybe during the pandemic. It's like, it was always just me sitting around and playing whatever song I wanted to play. And because I used to do live streams, every week from my upstairs, from my guitar room.
Yeah.
And my daughter would come up, and, at the time she was 4, and, put on her favorite princess dress and sing a song.
I remember those.
And that's how this started. Was like, just, I never, and if I don't feel like doing them, I don't do them. And, it's, if I do, and I kind of like that. It's been a fun outlet for me.
It seems very natural.
Play,
this leads me into my next question then, Tommy Emmanuel.
Yeah.
How did you end up partnering with Tommy? Because, I've interviewed Tommy a few times also and been to his house. But he's got a pretty high level of guitarist that, it's like, and you're in that level with him. I mean, how did you end up becoming friends and with Tommy and going out on tour?
So, I guess it was 2015. The duo was kind of new, and it was Rob that brought it up to our booking agent, and he said, I just keep thinking that Tommy Emmanuel would like what Trey does. I don't know why he would have thought that, and he said, I feel like if we could get with Tommy, and just hang and pick some, it'd be a great thing. And our booking agent was like, well, you're never going to believe this, but this morning, 3 shows popped up in California as like an opening act slot if we have anybody interested for Tommy. And I was like, oh man, that'd be great. And so it was literally, like 2 months from then, the first show we ever did was in San Francisco at the Palace of Fine Arts. And it was instant. Like as soon as me and Tommy played together, and it was funny because he had played Bakersfield the night before. And so he was kind of fresh on this Merle Haggard, Buck Owens thing. And of course, that's my upbringing. And like,
That's your wheelhouse.
Yeah, I love all that stuff. And we geeked out on Buck Owens polkas, and that has stuck for the last 10 years. Like that love of those just weird polkas that were on every Buck Owens album. Because they're all kind of the same song.
That's really a niche. I mean, it's not Buck Owens and the Buckaroos, those like the polkas.
That's what we've laughed about since like there's like 4 people in this whole world that care about Buck Owens polkas, and me and Tommy just happen to be 2 of them.
You and Tommy gel. Like when it's so much fun to see the 2 of you playing together because you share the stage so well. You each complement each other. Just like you and Rob did, but it's like, Tommy's smiling the whole time you're playing, and you're smiling while Tommy's playing.
Well, Tommy's one of those guys. I mean, it's just, I don't think he's like Richie, and where I don't see how guitar gets better than when those guys are playing it. It's like they're the top of the mountain, and Tommy's just always inspiring, and just to get to be in the same room with him as a guitar player, but to get to kind of pick with him, and we hit it off, like I said, immediately. And those every run that we've ever done together has been me and Tommy sitting up late picking, or and I think there's always just that he loves guitar, I love guitar, and it just kind of that resonates with both of us. And man, there's nobody I don't think out there that inspires me more than him, just because he is like mastered everything. I don't, when I listen to Tommy, it's like there's not a better fingerstyle guitar player. There's not a better flat pick guitar. There's not a, it's like he can do everything, and it's just this endless supply of creativity that never seems gimmicky or never seems forced, or it's just always like music. And that's like, I love being around him because it's just pure music.
It's
like,
pure air. And so then when you were out doing the runs with Tommy, he did not make you play a Maiden then. You got to play with your guitar. Right.
I played a Maiden.
Sometimes with the other thing, because I mean, Tommy, and he's like the Elvis of Australia.
Yes, he is. He is I don't know I guess the king of us.
Yeah, I think he's on stamps, probably some of the smaller coins.
If he ain't, he ought to be.
He should be.
Yeah, no, I played a Maiden. I didn't play it on stage, but I had one for a minute on one of those runs that they let me borrow. And it's a cool guitar. And yeah, obviously when Tommy plays, the tone he gets is just, otherworldly.
Yeah, and so you got like, I'm sure Tommy's going to reach out to you again, but I got to bring up too, your new solo album.
Yeah.
That came out. And I mean, what a great album. Can't Outrun the Blues. That came out this year, which is like going, but it's like, the singles and everything you were dropping. And I was going to say this too on it, Trey. It's like your vocals just keep getting better as well. I always thought of you as an incredible, guitarist playing multiple styles of guitars, but your vocals, it seems like, are to the level of your guitar playing too. It is a statement. I'm Ricky Blackmore, but.
No, I appreciate it, man. With singing, it's like I don't, and not that I do with guitar, but at least like with guitar, I could practice and feel like I'm getting better. With singing, it's like it's just so it's to me, I'd never known what I'm doing, and I've never, had lessons or studied it to a fault, I'm sure, but it's been a part of what I do, and even more, like, I always think of, like, me sitting around. I hardly ever sing, and I've been trying to do more of that just to, because it is like, when I'm on the road, I sing every song in the duo. When we had a show, if it was an hour and a half long, we might do one instrumental, but every other song I sang, and so singing and writing are part of what I do, and I'm trying to embrace that more, because I always feel like like I really want to study my guitar, but then it's like I also sing, but I just yeah, and I think with this record it was kind of a big thing, and luckily I've worked with Brent Mayer the last two of mine and Rob's albums, and then this record, and Brent just gets everything without saying it, like Brent gets it, and that's been such a great partnership to work with him.
Well, and did the Taylor guitarist signature model that happen before the new album, or was that like during?
During,
Okay.
because I played when I first started the record, I played a 517 gold label. And I took, when I record, I'll take everything and just bring, and a lot of times I've got it over here, an old D28 54 that I've had since I was a kid. Another family friend had bought a 54 Martin, and at one point, it was just like, I don't even want to play anymore. and he told, he's like, I'll sell it for what I had in it to me. This was, when I was probably 14, and of course my parents helped me get it, and it's one of those guitars. I just love it. It's, it's kind of beat up, but the best ones are.
Exactly.
And I played that guitar on a bunch of stuff, but that 517 is on like Cannot Run the Blues, the title track. I think the first 4 or 5 songs on the record is that guitar, and then at a certain point, I got the prototype for my 510, and so like the song Tucson, up on Cripple Creek, a few of those, like I used the prototype for my model, but the whole record is gold label outside of the last song, Off to Sea, which I'm using a Mule resonator.
I love
and
it.
and a 12-string on that one. No other. I'm not using a regular acoustic at all on that song.
Yeah. Yeah, and that sounds so good. Those Mules, I mean, they make great resonators.
They're so great. I mean, that guitar. I wrote that song Off to Sea because of that guitar.
Yeah.
I just had it, and Matt and those guys are just building incredible stuff.
Every time I stop at their booth and I hang out and play their guitars, I'm up in good one.
Yeah, the one I've got is the Par, so it's a Charlie Parr, the signature model, but the 6-string version. So it's an acoustic mule, not the metal body. And although I've got a metal body, but that one is the one I like. If I take it out on the road, because the metal bodies, I love it, but man, that thing's like 12 pounds, I think. And I'm a little weak on the. I used to play a Les Paul and a Twin, but that's like I got that lean. I wore a younger man's clothes then.
I heard this talking about that the other day. It's like when you're a younger guy and you're like taking the Marshall half stack, and now when you get a little bit older, you're like going, "Let me lift that amp before I play it."
Yeah, now I'm really digging the Tone Master. I've got a Twin, but it weighs 23 pounds.
Right. I mean, are those great?
Some. Yeah.
Also, with the Tone Master, you can change the wattage and everything.
Yeah, I'm not assaulting all 100 people that are there for the sound check.
Yeah, exactly. It's like click, click, put this down a little bit.
Oh man.
Yeah, compared to when you're using the dual twins.
Oh yeah.
It's like that the Maxwell ad, where it's like the hair blowing back.
Oh, that's
sound in the front row.
Yeah. Who would know? We're all deaf.
What? No, it's not my toe. But
yeah.
How did this go down? Where Taylor approached you? Because I told you this when I got that guitar in your signature model, and it's like I started playing it. It's like, oh my gosh, this plays, sounds so good. It sounds so great plugged in, but also that finish.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and it's such a pretty guitar. Even if it didn't play as great as it did or sounds good as it did, but it's a beautiful guitar. And but it started because they put out the gold label, whatever that size is. I think it's like the 14, so it's like a mini jumbo,
Yeah.
kind of like J185 size. The year before, and I knew it was a new thing for Andy Powers, and because it was being advertised as this whole new line with Taylor, and I just texted Andy because I've known Andy for 10 years now, and I'm always a fan of what Andy Powers does. Like he's just one of those guys that he's hard not to just root for him because he's always he's never satisfied. He builds these great instruments, and he's never, it's like he's always striving to make them better. And I feel like
he's like a mad professor because he got the shop at his house besides the one at Taylor.
And he somehow always does. Like he always kicks it up a notch, and so, but just through the videos, I could tell they were great, and so I texted him. I was like, man, congrats on the new models. And he's like, oh, we need to send you one to check out. And he said, I've got something coming down the pike that I think you're going to be interested in. And so they flew me out to Nashville, or no, I guess I flew back to Nashville from somewhere, and they met me at the airport and went and did some filming at Southern Ground Studio for the 517 before it came out. And because
Zach Brown's nice little studio.
Exactly. Yeah. The beautiful studio out there. And I've always been a fan of the Grand Pacific, guitars that Andy built. And so the 517 was the big secret, and I love that guitar. Like I said, I mean, the opening guitar part on Can't Outrun the Blues is that 517. And I feel like that's probably my favorite, like a recorded tone, that I've gotten. It just sounds like a big, massive guitar, and acoustically it does. And so
Totally.
I use that guitar on like everything for 6 months or however long, every show. And Andy was like, it'd be great to have you do it. And Jay Parkins, the guy at the artist guy at Taylor, we're just like, it'd be great to do a signature model. And obviously it's like Taylor, they're such a great company and great group of folks. And I was honored that they would even mention it. And we had like 2 meetings about the guitars, and I just said what I liked. And Andy was like, I really want to try this finish. I don't know if you're going to like it or not. But it's what I'm thinking. And he sent me that finish on a 517, which I've got over there, to prototype of mine. And I like, as soon as I got it in the mail and I opened the case, I didn't even really pick it up out of the case. I just called him like, yes, this is it.
Yes.
And so,
that's what I felt when I got your signature model in, and I opened it. I'm like going, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's a
It's
beautiful
like,
finish. Like
it's really has like a vintage honeyburst kind of look.
It does. Yeah, it's like, it's very, I forget what he was saying. It's like a faded map, or it was like he had this perfect way of encapsulating what it looks like, where I was just like, oh yeah, it looks good.
So cool.
That's I like it.
On there.
But that was our conversations, was how the guitar is going to play, and I had just a few little things, but the big thing was that it was originally going to be a 517 Grand Pacific. And then I just didn't mention the square shoulder thing because they hadn't done it in a while. And then they were doing the 810 Legacy. And I think Jay mentioned it first, and he was like, what if this was a square shoulder? And I just sent a text back with like all capitals, yes, like please, because I love round, I love J45s and the Grand Pacifics, and that look is cool, but there's something just extra kind of beefy on the square shoulder guitars, and they're so classic looking,
and it looks right on you, and like when you and I did the magazine interviews for a couple different magazines, like a Collectible Guitar and everything, to where it fits you. It fits your playing style. And I mean,
yeah.
And I know that some people in some of the guitar communities have given you, challenges about it, but you are able to sound like Trey Hensley no matter what guitar you're playing.
Well, I mean, there's part of that, and it's like, for better or worse, it comes out sounding like me. And but I do think, like, to anybody that I've had that said anything remotely negative about it, it's like, man, just go play it, you know?
Right.
Or I have had it before that it's been at, you know, a bluegrass festival or whatever, and somebody, oh, you're playing a Taylor, and I've taken that guitar off and handed it to them before, and will say, play this, and then tell me that, you know, play this and tell me tell me your thoughts after, and they've never said another word after. You know, it's a good guitar, it's a great sounding guitar, and like I said, man, if I'm going to use it in the studio, it better be a good sound guitar because nobody cares what it is in the studio. You know, it's
Right.
nobody sees it. It's not.
No.
And if it will stand the test at that, you know, it's like that's it. You know.
Well, you know, and you've played enough guitars to where, you know, for what you're doing, I mean, this is how you make your living, Trey.
Yeah.
The guitar has to be right, and I think your signature model is incredible. I found no flaws in it. I just regretted sending it back instead of buying it after I reviewed it. But you know, something else you looked very home at home playing was when I was at Tellytown, Ryman, not long ago, and you had like a little Mike Campbell Telecaster you were playing.
Yes.
You were like,
Love that.
did that guitar owe you money? I mean, is that Fender give you that? Did you buy? I mean, you sounded so good on that Trey.
Oh man, well, I love that guitar because that was one. Whenever I've worked with Fender a little bit through the years, and when that guitar came out, I just because I'm a massive Mike Campbell fan. I mean,
Are you friends with Mike Campbell also? Just go ahead.
You know, he follows me on Instagram, and I've like nerded out over that fact. I've never reached out, even though I would like to, and yeah, I don't. There's nothing. Yeah, I would just thank him, you know. But I have spent so much time listening to, you know, Tom Petty records, and I love that guitar. And so whenever it became a model, I texted my buddy at Fender, and I ended up getting one, and that's been so. Even when I brought it to that, I was kind of like, you know, I should maybe take one of my more traditional tellies, you know, or something.
Yeah.
But that's the guitar I grab when I'm at home. Like that's the one. And I remember I'm working on a record, not to plug something else, but I'm working on a record with Brian Sutton, and he's producing it, and it's mostly an electric record. And so I brought that guitar in and a couple other guitars, you know. And Brian was playing some electric on there, and he grabbed that guitar. And I remember he was just, yeah, oh, it feels great. And it feels very old, even though it's a new guitar, you know.
Right.
It's got the vintage thing. But I will say, like, I instantly became buddies with Billy Gibbons backstage because of that guitar. Because he thought that I'd put it together myself. And I went back, I was like, hey, man. And I showed him the destruct button, you know, which is you push the button in the middle and it boosts your signal 34 decibels. So it's just this massive jump, you know, and he loved that. He was like,
Yeah,
you
because
know,
I saw the pictures, you know, because I think I was like fourth row, and so I was watching you like when you had Tommy play and everybody, but then also when you played solo, and it's like you were playing that Mike Campbell Telly the whole time, and I'm like looking at that guitar, going,
Yeah.
oh my god, that guitar sounds so good.
It's a monster, and everything's, you know, stock. I'm a little like I know what I like on electrics, but as far as like knowing pickups and stuff, I'm a little naive. So everything's just stock, whatever the custom shop, you know. And I like the humbuckers. I like it's got two humbuckers, which, you know, and a telly bridge, you know,
Right.
and so which is I kind of assume, but they've got the telly bridge kind of jacked up really high, to where it'll match the output of the humbuckers. So it's a little bit louder, but that's if I'm at home, that's the guitar. Like I'll reach and it's, you know, almost all the guitar players that were there that night wanted to like even pick it up, you know.
Well, especially when Billy Gibbons, it's like that picture of you and Billy backstage at the Ryman. It's like going because everybody's just hanging out, and it's like going. It's like okay, well that looks normal. There's once again, there's Trey and Billy Gibbons from BB
Forrest Gump. Yeah, you know,
like there he is.
it was fun, and when they called me to be a part of that, it was kind of like I was, you know, just kind of blown away because he mentioned like two or three people that were going to be a part of it. And I was like, oh man, obviously anything I would be more than happy to. And it was great because I've told Tommy about it, and then got Tommy, we were all in the fold at the same time. And it was, Tommy and I were kind of hung a bunch backstage at that, because we even talked about it then. It's like we felt like the lone acoustic guys mixed in with the mostly, electric dudes. And
You guys did fine.
and it was so much fun. And everybody on that show was great. There's so many monster players.
It was so much fun, to see everybody, like we were talking about before we started the show, to where just coming up and taking the 1/4-inch guitar cable, plugging it in, and starting to play.
Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
everybody was doing like 2 songs, and then boop, boop, boop. It's like, from Larkin Poe and Kingfish, and with you and Tommy, and it was just like going, oh my God. And then Billy Gibbons just wanders out and starts playing with Larkin Poe.
Yeah, it was a fun. I was really just obviously honored to be a part of it, but it was also just a shock at how smooth it went. Because it was one of those things, and I think all of those shows like that just kind of teeter the high wire a little bit too much for my liking.
Well, it was like when Guthrie and John Oates were out there, and it was like going, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because obviously they play together so much, just like you and Tommy.
Everything just was really smooth. Like it,
Yeah.
everybody, and it was funny because they had the timestamps beside all the things, because it was like, and everybody backstage were just kind of laughing, like, there's no way, because I've been at so many festivals and stuff where it's like, oh yeah, we're definitely going to go on at 8:00. It's definitely not going to be 8:45 by the time we get on stage,
And that backing band,
Yeah, a monster
backup
band. And
insane,
yeah, just I love playing with Jerry Rowe on drums, and he's
Jerry's so good. I was watching Jerry, and it's like, I know nothing about drums.
you
And I'm watching Jerry going,
know,
I don't know how he's just hanging with
Yeah.
every different artist, and Jerry's just like,
Well, I love it because Jerry and Billy that was on the keys they both played on my stuff that
Billy was so good on the keys.
Oh, Billy's a monster, man. I love his playing so much. And but Jerry, I think both times I've been around Jerry, I've had, like, early in the day, I had an Iron Maiden shirt on or something. And like we'll talk about metal quite a bit. And so when I come out there, Jerry will just play like blast beats on the drums. And everybody else looks around at him like he's crazy. But both of us kind of get it immediately.
Yeah.
It's
like the inside joke.
It's pretty great, and he's mastered that. I think he's in Europe right now playing in a metal band, which is amazing. He can go from playing this.
You can play with anybody. Well, I got to ask you this too, because obviously with the tour and with playing with different, artists and everything this year, you're certainly going to be taking out your Taylor signature model. Are you taking out the Mike Campbell Telly also for any electric stuff? I mean,
I am. I just played an electric gig. I'm doing playing the Mike Campbell Telly as much as I can, doing that. And yeah, I mean, I've got a nice little rotation of guitars I'll bring out on stuff. And it's nice to have some options.
just a few.
Yeah, it's nice to have a couple. It's hard when you're traveling. Like, it's a tough thing. Like, if I'm flying, I literally will just take that the signature Taylor, and that's all I can manage. Unless
and a very nice case that you hope is not going to be destroyed.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I've had multiple. I bought one. I just told you that I had one destroyed, and then I bought a Hoffy, like 10 years ago, and that first flight that I took, it ended up with a hole like up near the headstock.
How do you make a hole in a Hoffy? I mean, didn't they have the ones where they go like people driving over them?
Yeah,
how do you put a hole in one of those?
It's nuts, man. I don't know what
somebody out there with like a pickaxe going, "I'm gonna pull me."
Yeah. There's a lot of angry anti-guitarists that work in the airline industry, as it turns out.
There can't be that many sound people working in the airline. Oh, never mind.
Well,
start a whole
It is scary. Like I don't take and like I like that the signature model because mine is off the rack. I mean it's there's nothing special about mine. So which is great, which is what I wanted, and it's like also I've got a Hudson Dalton that they made for me that was a limited signature model, and that's the same way. It's like I don't want anything that's special if I would like for whatever it's got my name on it to be the same. And
Well,
but
and
I will
also then
pick out
if you get in a situation and you are landing in Italy or Ireland or wherever, you should be able to find a music store that carries your guitar.
well, that's what I was just about to say because I just thought I lost mine on the way to California because they've had this horrible run of luck where they made me gate check it, and I've got an air tag in it, and it was not showing it was on the plane. And I'm like, oh great! And so I literally had Wi-Fi on the plane, and we were landing in L.A. and I looked up Guitar Center, and there was one, right beside the airport or close by at least, and yeah, I had my guitar in stock. It's like, all right. I'll go by there and buy my guitar, and and at least with that I know it's going to be great, and it's going to be exactly because I just did some stuff, some filming stuff for something that'll be out soon, and I didn't bring my guitar. I just used the one that they had there, and it played just like mine. It's played it in, sounded just like mine, and which is nice. That's a good. And then
You're gonna make me buy one of those, Trey. You're not helping my guitar addiction.
well, it's nice whenever somebody comes up and there was a kid at a show recently that's just a great guitar player's kid named Huntley. He came to the show and he sat in on a song, and he had bought his dad got him my signature model guitar, which was way cool, and so we had both of them on stage. And yeah, it's his sound when he plugged it in, it's perfect. Like it sounded just like the way I want mine to sound. And um so there's something to that where I can feel proud if like because I knew that he was a fan of mine, and so I know that whatever he's getting is exactly what I've got, and I love mine, and I feel like he's gonna like his.
Well, and also you had a hand in the pickup choice inside that model too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that was one of the things where it's like I wanted that pickup for sure, and it's a LR Baggs Anthem SL,
That's what I was thinking.
which is like I said, I just do these gigs in Italy, and I was not able to bring my normal pedal board. I just brought a DI plugged straight in, and it sounded great. To the point where the guy in Italy came down and asked me what I was using, which is
In Italian.
in Italian. Yeah, didn't know if he was mad or happy at first, but it turned out he was happy.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I want to bring up also a friend of yours, and I know you've had your share of acoustic coffee.
Oh yeah.
Our partner for Gear Gab, and so this is the Tommy Emmanuel one. And if you're wanting to try out acoustic coffee, use Gear Gab as your code and get 20% off your first order of acoustic
It's
coffee.
great
So I
stuff.
think everybody loves coffee, but I wanted to ask also, Trey, if people are, are there any things, people want to play and sound like you, just like you talked about with the young man that came up and his dad had bought him the signature model guitar. Any certain strings, picks, any certain things that you use on a regular basis to achieve your tone?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest question I get asked a bunch. I'm sure every guitar player. But I typically use D'Addario, those XS phosphor bronze strings on just about everything. I used nickel bronze forever, and I still like my old guitar, that 54.
Yeah.
I feel like nickel bronze sounds best on it.
There's certain guitars that they just sound better on.
Yeah, I mean,
Kind of the same thing because there's something about them. I don't know. It just warms them up.
it does, and like even my signature model, it ships with nickel bronze on it. Because when I was talking about them, I was only using nickel bronze.
Yeah.
And now like I think it's got excess on it now, but I kind of go back and forth on my Sig model on which ones I use. It both sounds great, but I always use
So,
13 to 15.
so when you have a signature model, you can just say Sig model. Is that like the code?
Yes.
I mean, I wouldn't know because it's like nobody's asking. It's like, Eric, how do I get your tone? Nobody asked me how they want to get my tone, Trey.
Well, yeah, I'm sure they do. Yeah, I know the Sig model. Let's see the
Hit that phone.
It's either cigarette or signature, you know?
So then, I mean, kick wise and everything, it's like a lot of times you're finger picking, but you use a
Yeah,
thumb.
there's a lot like, especially on electric. I've got to pick, and electric. I am not to be throw a pun, but I'm not picky at all. You know, really, I have no idea what I was using at Teletown. It was just something I had laying around. Some, Tortex does not matter thickness. I don't care. But on acoustics, I am the exact opposite. I am super, and there's a lot of different ones. Like a lot of times I use these. There's tone slabs.
Mhm.
Those are great. I've got everything. Like this one's I don't know. There's some Bluebird makes these poker out of popa chips. Token. There's this. That's kind of been my favorite now. It's like
I like those tokens.
yeah, I use
over here.
I use a token pretty often. Now those and the tone slabs are kind of my two favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm using what am I? Yeah, this one green.
Yeah.
They're great, man. I guess this one's the A360, and like I love that pick, and it's kind of made me want to play more, which is way cool. And
Well, especially for a spec you play on acoustic guitar, you've got to use one that will not ignite.
oh, and
You know what I mean?
yeah, it's funny
It goes
because
so fast.
the worst part about it is that I play hard. There's a lot of like pressure with my right hand. For better or worse. And so that's the only thing that I've had problems with picks is that a lot of times I'll wear them.
Yeah.
And so like I used blue chip for 20 years for that reason. Like that, I can't wear those picks out. And there's blue chips are still like my three go-tos are, these tokens and tone slab and blue chips are kind of like they're the ones if I had to like, I couldn't narrow it down. I don't want to narrow it down to one because I love all three of those.
Right.
But yeah, those are kind of my three go-tos. But like I said, here recently, the token's been my jam.
That's awesome. Well, I want to make sure, with the new music coming out, with the shows coming out and everything else, Trey, for our listeners and viewers for Gear Gab, that they have your website and your social media, also to catch your great little social media jams where you're just sitting around the porch playing. Where do our viewers need to go, Trey?
So my website is just my name, TreyHensley.com. All of my social stuff is just, whatever the social platform may be at Trey A. Hensley. So TREYA Hensley. And yeah, everything's on there, Instagram and TikTok and whatever and wherever.
Well, I wanted to bring up also that the new album is in now its second run of limited edition vinyl.
That's right. Yeah, in true Bluegrass fashion, once you run out of one limited edition, you inevitably press another limited edition. No, it's so weird because there's not many vinyl pressing plants.
Right.
And so you basically have to do limited runs of them, and unless you're buying,
But also, Trey, you got to
Yeah.
feel good. I mean, your solo album has done so well, and it's been
I'm
so
very proud
popular.
of it.
Yeah.
I'm very, very proud of it. It's, you never know when and it's like, you just hope people will like it. And, and even though that's not what you do it for, like I've had these songs for so long. And this record meant a lot to me personally, just getting
Right.
it out, that you hope people will be on board. And so far, it seems like, every show is it's amazing to go, play for people. And even in Italy the other day, when I was just playing there, not to keep, but it's the most recent place I've been, there was somebody on the third row singing along to one of my songs. And it's like, it's broke down this language barrier that, it's just insane, even to me, like, thinking about people in another country listening to my album and knowing it so well that they sing along, it's, that's blown my mind. And, yeah, just really, really happy with it.
Well, it's a testament to your musicianship and your passion. And I think one of the things that's always appealed to me about your playing, Trey, is how much you enjoy it. And then, I think we as the audience enjoy it because you're enjoying it and you play and sound great. It's always nice when everybody stands up at the Opry and cheers for you. You know,
Oh, yeah, that's a great thing.
but I
Better than do.
can't wait to see you out on the road touring live. And congratulations on the signature model. There should probably be a signature model Fender next. I don't know.
That's right. Yeah, we'll make it 4 humbuckers instead.
Yeah, exactly. It will be like a double the devastation, or it goes like
That's
64 dB.
Oh man.
Oh, well, Trey Hensley, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Hey, thank you, Eric. Always great to talk to you.
You too, buddy.
Thanks for joining the Gear Gab Podcast with Eric Dahl. Subscribe to our weekly conversations on your favorite platform. And if you like what you hear, don't forget to leave us a review. Follow us on social media at Gear Gab Podcast. You'll never know who our next guest will be.